I'm Tim, the Brand Weaver, and this is Branding for Breweries, the podcast that helps you grow your brewery, build a better brand, and connect with more drinkers. Each week, I'm joined by the brightest minds in the beer world, sharing practical tips to help your brewery stand out and sell more beer. Let's get stuck in. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. You are listening to Branding for Breweries, and I, as always, am Tim, the Brand Weaver. We're here this evening. It's not a normal Monday lunchtime slot, so this is exciting. I hope you're all tucked up with a warm cup of cocoa and your blanket on your laps, because today is going to be a wicked one. I am talking to Meg Waits. She was experience manager, events manager, and just general extraordinaire for phenomenal brewery brands like Thornbridge, Beavertown, even a stint at Yakima Chiefs, those lovely hop providing people. And this evening, we're going to be rapping and chatting about how to make the most of your events. It is something that every brewery needs to do. It's something that a lot of breweries don't do overly well. So I thought, why not bring Meg in and have a good old chinwag about this? So that's enough of me yabbering. Let's have a chat with Meg and let's get you some decent info to run some wicked events. Meg, hiya.
Hi, how are you doing?
I am super funky fresh, thank you, my friend. The caffeine is well and truly coursing through my veins to keep me on a high level this evening. Yourself?
Amazing. I am good. No caffeine for me. No,
It's
I am strictly water at this time of night if it's not a beer.
fair. Oh, I didn't even think
I,
about that. It's the evening. I could have had a beer for once whilst doing this show. Oh, here I am. Oh, well, not to worry. Next time.
next.
Meg, thank you so much for joining me this evening. And I hope by the time we finish this chat, anyone listening live or indeed tuning in later on down the line is going to be able to go, oh, maybe that's where I've been looking at this a little bit wrong. Or these are a few things I need to think about when putting on some events. Before we get stuck into this, would you be kind enough maybe to give us a little whistle-stop tour as to what you've done in the past and who you've done it with, so people go, yeah, okay, Meg is someone we're going to listen to. We trust Meg.
Yeah, absolutely. So I, like probably most people in the beer industry, started my time in hospitality, bars, restaurants. I even worked in a place in the Michelin Guide, but my love was always with beer. So when I graduated university with a degree in events management, so hopefully that entices people into listening to me, but I went straight to work at BrewDog. And then after some time at BrewDog, I moved over to working in one of the Thornbridge taps, which they have 6 in Sheffield where I was living. And I started while I was there planning my own events and with my own money and my own marketing, and I just loved beer and people so much. I wasn't really looking for a job. I was more looking for just a community and doing fun stuff with beer involved. And whilst doing that, the CEO of Thornbridge kept coming in and being like, why is my pub so busy? And why are these people happy? And what's going on? And then the more I chatted to him, the more he realized that he needed to pluck me out of the bars and put me in the brewery. And that everything just escalated from there. Went from Thornbridge to, well, I did nearly 4 years at Thornbridge, and we kind of grew from no events to lots of events, and really pushed the community aspect of what we did there and really lent on the Peak District. And then after I'd kind of hit the ceiling of what I felt like we could do there, Beavertown came up, and it was an amazing opportunity to go and really push what beer was. I joined just after Heineken, so I had a slightly inflated budget from what I was working with before, but all the creative backing. So it was just the perfect timing to really push what we could do in the beer world, and when beer and events meet. And then after 4.5 years there, I went to Yakima Chief. I decided that, I'd really done a lot of what I wanted to do at Beavertown, and Yakima Chief was offering the dream of hops in America. And the brand is, I think everybody knows how amazing the brand is. And it was amazing to go and do business to business. So I thought I'd try that for a little bit. And that's my background in a beer.
That's amazing. And so you like literally from behind the bar, working your way all the way up and seeing all angles of like the experiential and the events piece as well. So let's get stuck into this. For people listening, going, right, yeah, we're maybe not as massive as Beavertown or Thornbridge, but they still want to do events. Like, where where should they begin? Like, what are the first questions that you ask a brewery when it comes to putting on an event?
Okay, so we should begin at the beginning,
I
and
think that's a brilliant place to start.
I do too. But I think what people often don't do with events is ask why. Just why are we doing an event? And what people do all the time is it's our birthday, we should have a party, or it's Christmas, it's Halloween. And there's this expectation that you need to do something for these milestone moments or these big calendar events of the year. But why? Why why is that an event? Because it's been one before or because other people do it? That doesn't mean you should do it. So where I would always start is, does the company have goals? You'd be amazed how many people don't or don't think
You
about
know
that.
what?
But
I'm not that surprised. The amount of breweries I've spoken to, and they're this kind of like elusive goal, very common. But yeah,
yeah,
okay. Does the brewery have goals? Yep.
yeah. And how, why will doing an event elevate those goals or help you reach those targets? And, at the end of the day, if you do just say, we want to do a sick event, that's fine. But most of the time, you've probably got a limited budget, limited resources, and somewhere you want to get from A to B. And is an event going to do that? Or let's start by asking those questions,
Mm.
like just knowing that it's the right place to start.
So when you say about, having a goal, what are some of the common goals that you can go, yep, actually that's a good goal. Having an event to help you achieve that is the right thing to do versus going in another direction.
hmm So, I mean, again, the not having the goals is a big one, and lots of people will say we're doing an event because we want to make money, and it's like, oh, right, you've clearly not been at events long, because that's a really hard goal. So again, it needs to be something, what a lot of common like things that I've found are that growing brand awareness, which is essentially a nice way of saying we want to sell more beer, but like getting people to know the brand more, keeping our customers loyal is another good reason to do an event. Like you've got these amazing customers, got you off the ground, don't forget about them. How do we give back to that community? But the one that I'd say, outside of growing sales, is positive brand perception. Craft
Mm.
beer is differentiated itself from mass produced products by having a personality and caring about the environment and caring about its consumers and educating them. So that like positive brand perception is a really big like key goal for having what breweries are looking for, is, and that's what helps you differentiate yourself from all those other brands.
And I can imagine there's not many breweries who come to events going, yes, we want to work on our events so we've got positive brand perception. It might be phrased differently, or they, like I say,
Yeah,
it's probably the financial thing, isn't it? A lot of the
it
time.
it it is, but if you think about why do you have a tap room, and why do you do events and stuff? It's so that people like you.
Mm.
You know,
Keeping
Otherwise
them.
we could do a lot cheaper things. But
Yeah, and I suppose that leads me to think you've got various goals, but how do you pick the right event to achieve the right goal? So, like you say,
Mhm.
positive perception, rewarding the existing community, because different horses, different courses, right?
Yeah. So again, you need to think about, what is the right event for you? Are you doing an event because of what the event itself brings to the people that are there? And is it, that face-to-face interaction, or are you doing something to tell a wider story? So is this going to be, a big part of your comms and your social media? And is it gonna, be more than just the on the day thing? So I think that's how you kind of you need that as your starting point, if you get me.
Mm-hmm.
And to figure out, how you're going to fit the goal, and then going from there. You need your budgets. If you can't afford it, it's not going to help you. Your goal might be one thing, but your budget might be another. And how do you divide that to hit those goals, or to hit as much of them as you can in a realistic manner?
Yeah, the budget thing, I imagine that's got to be something that is wildly underestimated when putting on an event, because me in my naive way, I'd be like, oh, you can probably put on an event for pretty cheap, but are there like a load of hidden costs that breweries forget about when it comes to event planning?
Yes. Events
Yes.
I mean just the miscellaneous costs of planning an event. You think, okay, I would sit for hours and hours and hours and make spreadsheets and document everything I spend, which I will. A piece of advice to people who are trying to run events for breweries and are maybe clashing heads with the finance team, because you spend money, they try and save money. Document everything, make spreadsheets. They will become your best friends if you help them. So that is just a piece of advice, because it is all those miscellaneous costs that if you're not documenting them, they'll add up, and at the end you'll go, oh, there's 10% has gone on something that I didn't account for. But the big ones for me are the big hidden costs are your staffing costs. For one, again, another bit of advice I would give you is pay your staff. Even if you think going to a festival is awesome. Oh, they're going to a beer festival, so they get their hotel and their food, but we're not going to pay them. You're not going to get good work out of people in the long run. Those people are probably going to go. They're probably going to get drunk, and they're probably going to have a good time and treat it like a weekend away as opposed to work. So allocate your staff costs. Make sure that they're right. And when you're doing an event, people from the warehouse or the delivery team or the packaging team, if they help you, those costs are probably going to get put against your P&L, not theirs. Because if you take their staff away for 5 hours, the warehouse manager isn't going to go, great, and then I'll pay them. So you need to make sure that those costs aren't going to come back and bite you. And also just allocating those costs for yourself from the get-go and understanding, I'm going to need this support. If this event happens next year, or you do something like that next year, and you need to bring in a crew or an external group because the brewery doesn't have those resources, or the brewery's grown and the event has grown, putting those costs in, then you will have that in your budget to go, okay, next year I can bring in somebody, I can get further support. But if you just don't account for it at the end of an event, you're going to look at it and go, yeah, that costs a lot. Do you know what I mean? You're going to look at it and go, I didn't even think about that. I just thought people were helping me for the fun of it. But it's not, it's work. And finance will find you, and they will tell you how much it costs for a brewer or a senior member of staff to come, and you think, oh my God, I didn't. I just thought everyone was one team, one dream, but that's not how P&Ls work at the end of the year.
That's fair. And I suppose you've got to have a little bit of lenience, especially if you're going into your first year of event planning. And you mentioned 10%. Is that like a good kind of buffer that you go, if you're doing a bit of budgeting, give yourself an extra 10% because it's going to go somewhere, even when you think you've covered all the bases?
I would do, yeah. Like I said, I always put in, I'll have my transport, my product, my staffing, and my design, my socials, but I will always have a big chunk for miscellaneous costs, which one event, it could just be, we just needed some tape and some scissors, or another event, it could be, it rained and I had to get a marquee at the last minute and, you know, X, Y, Z. So the miscellaneous costs always add up. And then, yeah, the other costs I would always account a lot for is transport. Again, if your brewery is going to transport stuff for you, great. But if you're going to have to pallet everything you're going to a beer festival and you're going to be palleting a bar and so, you know, some kind of creative, you know, activation and whatnot, it won't fit on a normal pallet. We will get charged more. You probably, you know, a lot of the time you won't know the weight of what you're sending because you could just be throwing stuff in this pallet or in this van. Again, that you will get charged more for that. And then you're going to a festival, you want to set up at 6 a.m. because it starts at 12. Yep, a transport company is going to charge you for that. You know, so your transport as well is always going to be a big, like I said, unless you do what I did when I first started out at Thornbridge, I passed my driving test for that job. We rented me out a van every week and I drove it here and there. And it was crazy. It was crazy. And that kind of moved me on to another cost that you need to value that maybe I wasn't doing so well in those earlier days because I was so excited to get the brand out there and so keen to do stuff. But value your time, you know, for every one of those events that I did there was times when I did 3 Meet the Brewers a week and then, you know, go and do a festival that weekend and, you know, I'd never be in the office. Well, my time is money and doing all that stuff that, you know, adds up to when I look at my salary at the end of the year is what we were really trying to achieve, that I was at all those events, or would my time have been more valuable elsewhere, growing maybe bigger partnerships and developing future things that would be actually less time consuming, but maybe have a bigger impact for the brand. Because it's really, really easy to, especially with the smaller brands, to get suckered into, I need to be everywhere to grow.
Yeah, I completely see that. And like you say, with the smaller brands and with the smaller brewery in mind, you talked about obviously putting stuff on a pallet and sending it out places. And you've got the 2 types of events. You've got those like internal ones that happen within a tap room, especially if you're a brewery with a tap room connected to it. You don't have multiples, then you're hosting quiz nights or various events there. But then you have the beer festivals that you're going to as well. If you're advising the smaller indies who have a bit of a setup like that, is their best approach to try and get some kind of events calendar for the year so they know, get their head aligned and where to kind of focus their attention?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. The more you can plan in advance and get your calendar set up, the better your year is going to be. So the way that I would always do things is you have to remember that summer is going to be your busiest time. There'll be the World Cup this year. You know, the weather is getting better and better in England. Like, you know, the UK, God, yes, it's glorious. You're not going to have time to plan in the summer. If you're trying to plan your autumn and your winter, you know, your Q3s, Q4s in the summer, you're going to be knee deep. You're not going to have much time off. You're going to be really stressed. So what I would always do is work my events calendar very different to the financial kind of year. At the end of summer, breathe, take a month off, do what you need to do, but then use that time kind of between October and December, October, November really, because again, December you're going to be busy. Maybe events in beer, not the busiest time because hospitality is thriving. You're not going to be as busy as you are in the summer. So use that time for your post-event analysis and your planning. You want everything signed off and try and have a rough plan put in place before you go away for Christmas. Before you take time off for Christmas, come back in January and nail that with because again, the brewery will be working to a financial year. So if they're going to want you locked in by March. So if you come back after Christmas and you haven't even thought about it, again, you're giving yourself a really tight window. Come back, have your plan, sit down with finance, sit down with the marketing team, sit down with your boss, the board, whoever, and be like, I want this locked in by the beginning of Feb, because then you've got February. Well, then, yeah, you've got February, March, April to work with your partners. You know, if you're doing stuff internally, you need to source all that stuff. The longer you have, the better. Everybody will be sourcing stuff for the same time. Security, toilets, gates, you know, printing jobs, all this stuff is going to be in high demand. So the earlier you get it booked, the cheaper, the better, the more secure you are. And then, yeah, if you're working with external partners, you want as much time as possible to get what they want and then come up with a concept and bring that to life. So the sooner you get those in, the better you're going to be.
Yo, I just want to take a second out of Branding for Breweries to make you aware of something. For those of you who don't know, outside of hosting Branding for Breweries, writing the book Branding for Breweries, I also provide independent breweries with hands-on support with their branding, design, and marketing. In fact, it's even better than that because it's not just me, it's a whole bunch of awesome independent brewery folks who are dedicated to doing the very best for each and every independent brewery. The team have worked with some incredible breweries like Northern Monk, Ossett, Brains, Pillars, all over the globe, and gaining results like doubling revenue, winning Rebrand of the Year, even gaining over 7 million views on the TikTok channel. So if you're looking to level up your brewery's branding and marketing this year, drop us a message over at www.thebrandweavercollective.com and a member of the team will get back to you and we can have a chat. Now, back to the show. And you touched on like having a rough plan together before you break up for Christmas. What does a bare bones of a rough plan look like when it comes to event planning?
Yeah. I mean, like, do you mean like a calendar for the year or?
Well, there's a calendar for the year. Like what should you be considering and thinking about? But then if you're going, right, that we've got this event, what are those kind of like 5 or 6 tick boxes that you always need to make sure you've got kind of locked in very early on?
For the event, it's for like a big event itself.
Yeah.
Well, that depends if it's going to be like an internal or an external event. Like if you're going to a festival with somebody else, you know, you need, how quickly can you get your contract, your budget, and your activation locked down? And then it's, do I need a partner to, you know, then it branches off. Do I need a partner to build said activation? Do I need a transport partner? And you know, what budget do I have to do the beer, the activation, and then the online side of it is, I mean, there's a million. I guess lots of things, but I guess the most important thing, is get a contract locked down early if you have a partner, so that you can go from there. And then, once you get those in, like for me, I would always say you want to lock in your big pieces first. What is going to be your biggest thing of the year? Get that locked in before Christmas. Get that in first. And if your big piece falls apart, what are your 3 pieces below that? That, you know, can one of those step up into a bigger slot for the year? Do you need to start from fresh? But I would always work from the top with this one biggest piece, and then that you can have your whole marketing team, you know, they're going to be working. They could be working further in advance than you, like, what is the trend going to be for next year? What is the theme going to be for this? So if you can get that event locked in and they can start with thinking about a theme and communications, then what you'll find is when you do another event, you're like, we could just do something very similar, but a bit smaller and a bit smaller. And then actually you're not thinking of 100 different ideas. You're thinking of really one great idea scale different ways.
And I know when we caught up offline a while back, you were talking about like the bronze, silver, gold kind of approach. Is that what you mean? Where like gold you're going to reserve for your top tier big event, and then silver and bronze is like the degradations of that?
Yeah, for sure. So like I said, again, and this will differ. The smaller breweries, you are, like I said, I had to work my way through lots and lots and lots of bronze events to get word out there, and we spoil those key accounts. But I think that obviously the bigger you get, the more budget you have, and the bigger the events get. But I guess you can scale this concept to any size, because big to you might be small to somebody else, or vice versa. But what I started to do as a way of kind of managing my time, because events is normally going to be one of the smallest departments in the brewery. If it is even a department, you could just be working in sales or marketing and really trying to pull together these events. But you'll find you get so many obscure and weird requests from so many random people. It could be a sports event, it could be a drinking event, it could just be somebody, oh, my dad loves your beer, and can you come to his birthday? And so you're thinking, how do I manage this inbox of constant niche requests? So what I started to do when I was pulling together, I'd always pull together a calendar for the year and try and pitch that to the finance team and the board. Again, sometimes people are like, I don't know, Meg, just do what you want. And I'm like, no, I want your buy-in. I want you to tell me that this is going to go ahead, not plan everything and then find out my budget and it doesn't work. So what I'd do is bronze, silver, gold. So bronze would be like a cut and copy event that I could basically have a presentation for, or an email that explained it, and people go, oh, Meg, this account wants to do this, or somebody's having a birthday party, and I'd just go, here's 3 different bronze style events, and I thought, it's beer bingo, or it's a food pairing, or just something kind of fun, creative, but I don't need to be there. Somebody else from the brewery can pick this up and they can take it from my instructions and they can run with it, or a bottle shop or somebody that knows about beer, they can pick up those bronze events and run with them. And then putting that time into doing those bronze events at the beginning of the year, putting that time into making the package almost, but not being there, means we could do way more of them, because I don't need to be there, or the event manager doesn't need to be there. You're entrusting that because it's small and it's much easier to somebody else. Then you've got your kind of silver events. So these would be more like, I'm going to a beer festival, but I'm not running it. Or say the Waitrose food and drink show, or those kind of, they are big events, but they're not for me. They're not my soul. They're not my project. I'm going to help somebody else out by being a vendor at them, and they're going to help me out because they're going to help sell the brand. But, we're going to work together. And those events are amazing because, again, you can come up with like a really good cut out copy of kind of what you want to do. Go, okay, what do we have a new beer this year? Cool. The bar will look X, Y, this way. Beavertown were amazing at that. We built bars that you could slot things in and out of, so that every year we could sell the new products and the different brands without putting in a new bar build. And those kind of silver events are, they're going to be really big, but I'm going to get a copy and paste from the beer festival saying, market this way. And we can just send a bar, or we can send a bit of an activation. But again, you wouldn't necessarily have to be there. And then your goals are, this is going to take the majority of my year is going to be planning this, because this is the big piece that is going to sell the image or sell beer, or it's going to be, it's going to be it's a big part of our conversation within the marketing team for the year. And again, that's for you to decide whether that's an internal piece, which again, that's how we did things at Thornbridge. We started off with Peakender, the big camping festival, and that was really our like gold thing. But then we also worked with Bearded Theory, which that was a music festival that we tendered for every year. We won that, and we went and we were the drink sponsor of that. So that's like a big jump up from going to a beer festival and sending a bar and there being 50 other bars. We're the sole bar for 12,000 people. And we like that is a gold. That's a big gold,
For sure.
So yeah, I would just always try and, like I said, do that groundwork on your bronze and silver, make an amazing presentation, make the sales team feel loved when you send it to them. But, by gently telling them, I'm not going to do this, you are.
So I've got the idea, but it's over to you now, team. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's how that's valuing your time and the brewery's time, because you're not getting weighed down necessarily by being the face all the time.
And I think time is an interesting piece here, because you painted a picture of like, breweries with larger budgets. Obviously you talk about Thornbridge, you talk about Beavertown. I'm thinking about that person who isn't just the dedicated events manager, their events marketing, potentially a bit of sales as well. They're working in a small team. So the idea of hosting a big outdoor camping event or being the main sponsor is far out of reach for them.
Mm-hmm.
So where do they need to be focusing their time in terms of the events, and what are the kinds of events they really need to be saying yes to get the biggest return for their time and financial input if they do have to put something into it?
I mean, for me, I think obviously if you have a tap room, that's great. You can use your tap room to do stuff. But I think where those small breweries will see the kind of best use of their time, and if they don't have them, is you work with other people on their events, grow with other brands that might be of a similar size to you or slightly bigger than you, and work on events outside of just your back garden and your tap room. Go to the fun runs, or the art exhibitions, go to things where other people are going to do a lot of the groundwork, and you're going to bring your brand into a new audience without having to be like, oh my God, the toilet's flooding, or this has gone wrong. Like, take that weight off of you and try and find like-minded businesses that want to. People love craft beer. People love having craft beer at their event. It makes things so much cooler than just walking in and going, oh, well, there's Carlsberg or there's Heineken. It gives an event cool point, so you can give them something and take so much weight off yourself by being like, I have to plan something myself. You don't have to,
That's a really good tip. I suppose if then it is a slightly larger team and you've got a brewery going, actually, we're going to partner up with the local food and drink festival, not a massive one. And the marketing team go, wicked, we want to go big on this. We want to activate on it. We're going to make it magical. Like, how do you manage that, the creative magic and the wants and needs without being like, well, yeah, but we're going to need to drop 10K on a custom built stand or something like that?
Well, first of all, if the marketing team want to do something, you take their budget and you piggyback, off that and help them. If they want something amazing, you take out some of your costs and put it in theirs, would be something I would say, because that marketing events always works with marketing, but they have two different brains for these things. But my advice would be to not not let anybody overrule you, say, in how you approach the event. So I think the best way to keep marketing on side, but also keep them in control, is they need to be in the events planning from day dot. So I've done events where I've had an in-house marketing team activate stuff and it's gone really well. And then I've done events where we've had agencies come and activate stuff and it's not been as successful because I haven't, these are, times where they've been kind of dropped in at the last minute of, oh, this is happening, so we're going to tag something else on. And then expecting on the day that myself or somebody else from the events team will be able to curate a lot. Oh, we need people to film and this moment needs to happen to do this. And it's like I said, the urinals have overflowed, the Wi-Fi's gone down, the tills aren't working, anything like that. I'm like, I will not be there. So the way that I've found it most successful is when you integrate the marketing team from the very beginning so that they know the floor plan of the event, where the plug sockets are. They know the bartenders because they're probably going to ask them to pose for some awkward promotional stuff. And it's better, the more they know, the more successful it can be, because you just don't want to think, my event's going to go amazing and I'm going to help do this cool marketing thing, because with the best will in the world, something will always go amiss on the day.
And where would you say, like, the most important, what's the most important thing to invest in for an event outside of the brewery? So say we come back to the food and drink, the local food and drink festival, limited budget. What's the thing that you go, this is the important thing that you need to be focusing on actually putting the money into with this event?
You're sending good staff. If you're gonna put something on, make sure you send people that know what they're talking about, because that's often the case. Is it, oh, well, we've built this bar and blah blah, and it looks amazing, and then I'm like, who's working this weekend? Who's doing that? But no, outside of that, I think having a pop-up bar and seating and event space that is lightweight, pop-up, movable, adaptable, not just like this huge thing, is crucial, especially for the smaller breweries. We, at Thornbridge, we will get asked so frequently to do weddings and, birthdays. And if you are trying to get some sales on the weekend and grow, the last thing you want to think is when somebody says, can you do this, is, oh, we just don't even have a bar. Like, think about your equipment. Do you want kegerators? Can you build like a proper bar in and serve that? But just having that piece right. And again, like I said, something we nailed at Beavertown. Anybody that came to any beer festivals or anything, people used to give me shit all the time because ours always looked so good. And I was like, we put a lot of thought into this way ages ago to alleviate stress.
Like I say, it comes back, you mentioned it's that planning side of things, isn't it? It's not just going, right, well, this is our year of events and this is the tick list, but actually, what is the fundamental kit that we're going to need to use time and time again? And if we invest in it now and we've got these flexible elements, like you say, at Beavertown, you can slide the new promos in and out, that's going to serve you for much, much longer than just a one and done shoddy pop-up that you've got limited budget on. So I think sound advice. If we talk about events which are a little bit different, so we're not talking about attending other people's events, but now actually setting up an event that is going to pull in a new audience, something different. A brewery needs to expand awareness and they need to go down a different route. What are the kind of things they need to be thinking about? What are the things that they need to try in order to achieve that?
To like pull in a new audience. So I mean, the first thing is, if you're planning an event and you want to pull in a new audience, if you take the beer out of the event, is the event good? because, you know, if it's a new audience, they're not going to come to a tap takeover or a beer tasting. But if it's something at the brewery, you know, a community kind of weekend event, a Christmas, a Halloween, that type of thing, or yeah, like I said, you're going to a food festival. If you take out the beer, is the food good? Is the entertainment good? Are your partners good? Are you shining other elements of what you do? You know, are you putting yourself at a high bar with what everyone else is doing? And I think if you take the beer out and the event's naff, then you're not going to appeal to new audiences. People aren't going to come with their friends or their family. So I think what I did when I joined Beavertown, we started saying, right, we're just not going to beer events anymore. So like we've officially ticked that box. We think most people in the UK that drink craft beer know who we are. And that's not to sound big-headed, but that was the level we were at. So we were like, we need to start going elsewhere. And I was like, looked at my Instagram and I was like, oh my God, I only follow breweries. That's it. Like, and I was like, all I'm doing is this is looking at what everyone else does, and especially in America, and go, God, that's cool. We could do something like that. And then what I had to do was really scrap what I knew and start again. So I started, you know, following more like, what clothes brands do I like? You know, who's amazing in that, like Nike. Why are Nike so good? Like they immerse customers in what they do, and we're quite a brand heavy, you know, brewery. So how do we start following those and looking at, you know, your classics like your Red Bulls and your Apple? And that's, I started having to, and I used to sit where I moved myself to sit more with the sales team as well. So I was like, I need to hear what's happening out and about. I can't just sit and be like, oh, I've got this great idea. I was like, you need to integrate yourself into trends and what's happening elsewhere. And that's when you start to make really good events that also have great beer at, as opposed to having great beer and a good event. Do you know if that makes sense?
Oh, 100%. I love that idea of like looking outside of the beer sphere. It makes so much sense. Like actually, if someone who worked at a brewery just had to set up a separate like Instagram account or TikTok account and just follow those different brands that are maybe what your target drinker is looking for, but not beer, then it's going to open you up to a world of new ideas, and you're not going to be like, yeah, we're going to get a singer-songwriter in with an acoustic guitar, and we're going to get a pizza wagon. And you're like, yeah, but everyone's done that now.
Exactly. And it's so easy we all love beer. That's why we all work in beer. And you do just fall into this trap of like, but everybody loves that. And then you're like, do they? Then you start doing something different and people go crazy for it. And you're like, oh, didn't think of that.
Yeah, just offering something fresh. It makes so much sense, and it's so obvious now you say it. So, oh my Lord, we've been chatting for ages.
I told you I was a waffler before this.
Oh, good. The golden nuggets that you've dropped in this chat is phenomenal. Thank you so much. I suppose if we bring this to a wrap, like, how should a brewery be looking at their events and kind of like measuring if it works and if it's successful? Because like you say, like the financial side of things isn't really the metric to be tracking a lot of the time. So when they are, if they should, or they encourage to be look at the data before and afterwards, what are those numbers that they're trying to look at and want to see go up?
Yeah, I mean, events is notoriously hard to track. Unfortunately, you don't get a number like, this many people bought the beer, or this many people talked about us on socials. Like you do get that at events, but not in the same way as we did this post and it achieved this. But I think, you just want to be looking at like when, before you're doing an event, what is the buzz? Is anybody talking about your tap room or talking about drinking your beer? Looking at yourself online, and are people going to the events that we sponsor, or we send beer to these music venues or things like that, and just gauging the general kind of buzz for the brand it is really hard. But then, yeah, during, you want to know, is there a spike in that? You always want to be looking at if an event's doing well, your web shop will probably be doing well, because people will drink beer and be like, oh, I need this. I need some of this I want this delivering to my house for when I get home. So be just checking your online, your website. Are people, buying merch? Are people talking about you on social media? That's obviously during the event. That is huge. Make a hashtag. Tell people it for ages. Use it for months before your event. And, just little things like make sure you're encouraging people to talk about you, because everyone will be on Instagram. So why not Instagram you, or, TikTok? And then, yeah, the afterwards is, like you said, the P&L, the website, the social media. But yeah, afterwards, you really want to be like looking at just your whole like post-event analysis. Is, I would always say, because like I said, events are notoriously hard to track whether they're good or not. Obviously, you can get customer feedback, encourage people. You'll win a case of beer if you fill out this form, because then people will fill it out. They won't otherwise, ever. Never. But whenever I do my post-event analysis, and same when I set up an event, if it's a big project, I don't do it alone or just solely with the marketing team. I make sure that there's somebody from the brewery, somebody from finance, like people. I'll make like a little, we are the team, we are focused on this, and make people really feel involved. Because then when it comes to post-event analysis, finance will be able to tell you so many more metrics than you would see. And the brew team would be able to say to you that took us ages to do the product development, and nobody else has bought it. The sales team will be able to say, oh, actually 100 bars saw that product and wanted to buy it, but I wouldn't see that. I've just asked to make a product for my one event, but they'll be able to tell me, actually this had a wider reach, or actually financially this didn't spike as well. Sales, if you go to a festival, sales will be able to track, okay, we're based in London, but we went to a festival in Scotland. Was there a spike around that area in like sales? Which again, sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. It's not the be all and end all of was the event successful. But yeah, lots to track. But I'm sorry that one I don't have a key answer on, because it's one that I battle with every time.
No, but I do take on board, the more different brains you can bring in around it and the different investment, then naturally they're going to be more, concerned about their department and what's right. So they want to be able to show what's working. So much like you say, if you have a marketing team, bringing them in, on the journey, making sure all the right people are involved, because it works from the beginning through to the end. Makes perfect sense.
Having buy-in from your team as well. It just makes, if people feel involved from the beginning, when something goes wrong or you're stuck or you need staff to volunteer, people will help you more. If instead of just going, oh, this is my plan and that's how we're doing it, it's so much better when you can, especially because like people in the warehouse and people in the finance team, where they might be a bit bored sometimes. So getting them involved in an event, they'll feel, they feel like more connected to it, and it makes your life so much easier, because events is all about asking everybody else for favors. I need this weird shipment going to this place we've never been before, and I need volunteers. You do want the buy-in from the business, otherwise everyone will just go, you're just spending a lot of money, and and then you're like, shit. Yeah, I'm not gonna get backed. Yeah. But another one to look at as well is just, again, with that kind of partner relationship, be assessing the partners you're working with, and are their business growing? Are they stagnating? Try and find partners, be looking for partners that you can like grow together with. And we did that so good at Beavertown with like coffee shops and restaurants and stuff that started really small and indie and then like exploded. And again, it's just keeping an eye on them and going, are they in line with us? And can we, next year, are they a good partner, or have we got bigger than them? Have they got bigger than us? Who's helping who here? And just not just, okay, we worked with you last year. It's kind of monitoring people throughout and deciding, okay, they still look good to me.
That's a really handy tip. Because I'd never thought of it that way. A lot of the time it's like, oh yeah, we've been able to get the beer into this restaurant, wicked, we've got a new stockist. But actually there is that other level, isn't it? It's like, well, that's all well and good, but actually if you're finding that venue, that restaurant, that chain that's on the up, then they're going to do even more for you, because as they grow, they're going to hopefully take you with them, and vice versa. What a wicked way to wrap this up. Love it.
Yeah.
Meg, thank you so much for your time this evening, mate. I feel like I could have picked your brains for hours on bits and bobs about events, and I won't, because we all need to sleep at some point. It's fine. But if someone wanted to reach out, if anyone had any questions or like a burning need to know, where's the best place to get in touch with you, mate?
You just get in touch with me. Get in touch with me on LinkedIn is probably the best place, or most people probably, my Instagram is Meg_drinks_beer, and it has been forever, because that's been my common goal in life, to drink some beer. But yeah, just hit me up on LinkedIn or Instagram.
Oh, fantastic, mate. Thank you so much again, Meg.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime, buddy. And anyone tuning in who has taken the time this evening, thank you so much. And for those of you listening in the future, this is Tim from the past, thanking you with all my heart. I'll see you all very soon. And if you're at BrFw&x, I will be strolling around, people. So come say hi. Meg, you're at BrFw&x as well, right?
Yes, I will be there. So yeah, say hi to me as well. I'm going to be infinitely less busy than Tim. So.
Yeah, you do have a better chance of finding Meg on this one, I think. I'll be sat down somewhere. But hey, if you see me wandering, looking lost, please do grab me. Anyway, that's enough of my yabbering for this evening, everyone. Have a wonderful day. You rock. See you soon.
That's a wrap on this week's episode of Branding for Breweries. If you got something great from it, hit follow, like and subscribe on your favorite streaming app. Or even better, leave a review, share it with your brewery pals, or get in touch, because I want to chat to you. Rock on!